Hello, I'm Tracey Weiss, and I'm welcoming you to our course on communicating organizational leadership. I'm very excited to be spending the next 7 weeks with you and hope to make this an engaging and thoughtful experience, even though we're going to be doing our whole course online. But that doesn't mean that we won't get to know each other, meet each other, and discuss with each other. Because what we'll be doing is listening to some of these videos that I've prepared and then meeting with each other online via WebEx for discussions. So what I'm hoping to do today is to give you an overview about how this course will work, why it benefits you to take the course. Then I will go through a very general overview of some of the technology and how we'll be using it during the next few weeks. And then I'm going to be presenting an introduction to leadership. As you can see, our learning goals are 5. We want to understand leadership theories. I wouldn't be doing you due justice just to be talking about leadership from an experiential point of view. I think it's important to marry theory to practice. So that will be one of our primary goals. Our second goal is for you and everyone taking the course to develop a personal leadership plan, for you to enhance your own self-awareness about what makes you a leader today and what you want to build on for the future. I also want you to be able to apply this where you work and take leadership and say, what's leadership going on in your own workplace? How do other people do it? What are their strengths and weaknesses? And how you can have a greater impact where you work as well. A big piece of that will be gaining communication skills, because we're going to be looking at leadership from a communication perspective. And then finally, learning to lead in a rapidly changing global environment that's increasingly diverse. As you probably know from looking at our website, I am directing our brand new online program, and I also have been a full-time faculty member in the School of Media and Communication here at Temple since 2008. I'm also a 3-time Temple graduate. I was an undergraduate, I got a master's degree and a PhD here years ago. We don't want to talk about how long ago, because in the intervening years, I have been consulting to both large and small companies, including major pharmaceutical companies, doing some worldwide work for major concerns, as well as looking at small businesses, some government agencies like the Federal Reserve Board in Washington, D.C. So I have extensive experience looking at leaders in the workplace and applying this in the workplace. But in addition, I thought I'd open up our course and tell you a small story about myself. That I was an undergraduate here at Temple, and this will date me, but tell you a little bit about me. I grew up in an era where women were really groomed to be either teachers or nurses or dental assistants. And so since my father was a dentist, you can guess what my parents thought would be good for me. But I knew that I kind of went into, I always liked teaching, I still really, really like it, that I would go more in the teaching phase. And to do that, here in Pennsylvania, you need almost a master's degree. And one of the things I noticed when I was an undergraduate is that all the guys who were in my program were being recruited for the master's program and given scholarships. And for whatever reason, at that time, they definitely were not recruiting the women. And so I applied. And I applied, I got in, I got a teaching assistantship. And in that program, I really met somebody here at Temple who was a mentor to me. And that made all the difference in the world. Somebody who encouraged me to write academic papers, encouraged me to apply for the PhD program. So I went ahead and did all that. And the rigor it took to get a PhD here, which it still does, and my ultimate success at doing that really built my self-confidence and made me feel like I could do anything beyond academics and whatever. So in the intervening years, I've been able to write 2 books, which you can find on Amazon.com, build my own successful consulting business, reach personal goals I had for myself, and then my ultimate goal, which was to come back here and teach at Temple. So you can see how excited I am to be here, and particularly because I feel like I have one foot in the past and I have another foot teaching online in the future. So this is very exciting for me, and I feel what I want to do is have you all the experience that you can set your dreams broader, make them bigger, and a number of years from now, be standing somewhere telling somebody your story about how you did it. So the next thing we're going to do is talk a little bit about how this course will work. What you will need to do is to be able to feel familiar and comfortable with 2 programs that Temple uses online. One is Blackboard, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with, and the second is WebEx. I know I was clear when we introduced the course, but I just want to emphasize there will be no in-person or on-campus meetings required. We will be meeting once a week as a group, and you probably got some information already about when that time will be, to talk about the issues, the readings, the assignments on the week through WebEx. So in a typical week, there'll be several assigned chapters to read, along with a set of articles, my video to watch, and perhaps some other videos to watch, where I will try to discuss some of the important or complex issues that were being focused on that week. And there will be the good news is there'll be no midterm or final exams, but there will be 2 papers and what I'm calling a digital project, which I will explain later, which is a visual project that you'll be presenting online. And we will do a discussion board throughout the semester. So I'll be going over more of these details when we meet for the first time on WebEx. And I'm also posting a document, which is how to use Blackboard and WebEx on our Blackboard site. So if you want the specific instructions, you'll be able to go over those. But let me talk about each of the aspects of the course in just a little bit more detail before we discuss what is leadership. If you look on our Blackboard course, you'll see I've organized it around weeks. So there's 7 weeks of the course and there's 7 tabs. In each tab, you will find what are the key topics, what are the main themes that we're going to be discussing that week. And then what are the assignments that you have due, the readings that you have due, and it will all be posted right there. There'll either be chapters of our 3 assigned books, or there'll be articles, and I'll have the link to the article right under the week tab, so it'll be easy for you to find. One aspect of the work that we're doing is that all assignments, which really are just these 2 key papers, you have to turn in through a program called Turnitin. There are instructions on how to do that on our Blackboard site, and we can also discuss it this week. But basically, under the Assignments tab, there's a specific place for you to turn your paper in, and then you'll be getting it back that way with my comments and a rubric for grading. But we're going to be using it that way to keep all this carefully organized, because we won't have the luxury that a classroom give and take sometimes has. Let me just emphasize that in accessing WebEx, there's 2 ways to go. One is on your TU portal, all of us have the WebEx link, and it's listed on the left-hand vertical menu. So you can get in that way, and you'll see you will be scheduled for a session. A second way to get into WebEx is we're going to create a specific link for our course, and I will post that on Blackboard under announcements. So you have 2 ways of accessing it, and probably practicing a little bit before our first class session would be a great idea. So next, let's talk about what is leadership. As I said in the beginning of this video, we often associate leadership with people who hold senior level positions. But in this course, we're going to take a much broader definition of leadership as people who produce change, movement, get people excited, inspired, align people to work together, and really create a direction of the future. A good distinction, and an important distinction, is the difference between your role as a manager and your role as a leader. Now think of it this way, we all wear different hats, metaphorically of course, during the day. Sometimes, for me, for example, I'm a professor. Sometimes I have the hat on of a wife. Sometimes I have the hat on as a mother. Sometimes I have the hat on as somebody who lives in a community. So we all wear different hats and play different roles. In the workplace, there's the role of manager and the role of leader. Sometimes people are both of those things, but teasing them out to make them clear will help us define what we mean by being a leader. So a manager, and when you're in a manager function, you're usually somebody who is trying to keep the day-to-day operations of the place together, moving forward. You're concerned with things like budgeting, staffing. Do we have the right people? Are people being paid? Are we all moving in the same direction? If we think of Temple University, for example, we wouldn't be here if there weren't people doing those functions. Tuition wouldn't get paid, we wouldn't have facilities to hold our courses, etc. By contrast, leadership really has to do with thinking about the future more than thinking about the present. Saying, where do we want to go? How do we want things different in the future than they are today? And how can we inspire people to, what I would call, give that discretionary effort to do more than just what the job requirements are to help lead that change? So yes, people can be both a manager and a leader, but in this course, we're really going to focus on the leadership dimension. One of the authors we're going to be reading this semester is Warren Bennis. Warren Bennis really talks about leadership in 4 components: who you are, how you act, what you do, and how you work with others. And we're going to be looking at this as a perspective this semester. Bennis also emphasizes a point that I think is really important, which is taking accountability for your own life. That no one ultimately can teach you who you are. It's a factor of becoming more self-aware, more knowledgeable about your values, more aware of how you want to invent yourself in the world. And that leadership grows out of the need to express yourself fully. Now, Bennis's perspective on leadership begins with self-awareness. That first you have to really think about who you are and who you want to become. And I think he makes a really good point about each of us really has to understand our own past. That everybody I know, including me, has some complaints about their parents, but we sort of get into the habit of blaming our parents or blaming our boss or blaming other circumstances in life for limiting who we are. And what I've found in all my years of both teaching and consulting on the subject of leadership is that people mostly limit who they are by their own sets of assumptions, not by barriers and obstacles that other people put in front of them. And it's not that those barriers and obstacles and crises are not real, but the power that you have within yourself to deal with those is really becoming aware of who you are and where is the direction that you want to commit your passion and your energy. In addition to self-awareness, he uses the phrase mastering the context. Now, those are particularly unique words to Bennis, but what he's really talking about, which I think is a big idea, is getting to know more about the world around you. What's needed, it could be in your community, in the job market, where are there going to be jobs, where there are going to be a lack of jobs, what's happening as a global society. There's so many opportunities for change, and knowing who you are and what you're going to make, how you're going to make a difference means really understanding organizations that you're a part of, organizations that you may need to be a part of in the future. The best practical implications of research are putting that to use for your own good. It's not just researching through academic sources, but researching in your own life what's going around in the world around you. You could do that by reading national newspapers, by talking to people, by networking, by becoming more aware not just of the assumptions and biases that you have, but how other people see the world. What this involves is really understanding the forces and the opportunities of today and how you can shape our time and place in history. Authentic leaders just don't understand these realities. They also want to, out of a passion, reach out and do something about it. So the third point about Bennis is that not only are we talking about self-awareness, mastering and understanding the context and the world around us, but also making a difference and taking action. And where is it that you could put your energy to best exercise your own personal leadership? So far we've been introducing Warren Bennis's ideas of leadership and really talking about self-awareness, mastering the context, and making a difference and taking action. So I thought we could talk about a real-life example of Ron Finley, and I'm going to have you go to the link below and see this video in a few minutes, but I want to tell you that we're seeing it right now because I think Ron Finley is an example of a leader in a community who took it upon himself to do the principles that we're talking about here in terms of Warren Bennis's ideas of mastering the context and becoming aware and getting passionate about something that's important to him. I think it's fun and interesting to view him in action. And I also think after you see this video, we're going to come back and discuss it a little bit in terms of, did you see Ron Finley as somebody who was exercising communicating leadership? What kind of communication strategies did he use to get you interested and on board with a message that he had to give? So go to this link that you see displayed on the screen. You can leave my video for a few minutes and see Ron's on TED Talks, and then pick up this video where we left off, and we're going to sort of talk about Ron for a couple of minutes, summarize what we did today, and talk about where we're going for next week. Now that you watched the Ron Finley video, you could see that Ron clearly was not somebody who was appointed to his role, but emerged in the leadership process, emerged because of his passion, because of his values, because of his commitment to what he was about. But he also is a great demonstration, not just of emerging leadership, but of some of the key components of communicating leadership. One is that he has a powerful vision. His vision is so powerful, I'm going to go out and plant some of those tomato plants myself this summer. Also, as with many effective leaders, he knows how to tell a good story. He's a good storyteller. He kind of draws you in with what he's doing, and he really is engaging in the process. The third component about communicating leadership that I think he demonstrates is the use of language. Remember when we talked about a few minutes ago how symbols can be powerful communicators? I loved it when Finley started to talk about guerrilla gardening and changing the metaphor and what that would mean and making that so powerful. And I just showed this for the first time in another course, and I had students who went and showed it to their neighbors for their community gardens and came back and told me the next day. So I think this is a powerful example of how we all can be leaders. And what I want you to do this semester is to find leadership within yourself. To sum up this introduction, what we're saying is that leadership fundamentally is a communication and a relationship process. So it's not just all about you or the leader, it's about how we all work together in a community and in a global society. Secondly, we're saying that leadership is everybody's business. It's part of being human, and it's part of emerging into your true self. We're going to be looking at particular skills and abilities of what goes into effective leadership this semester. And finally, we're saying that leadership development is self-development. I will say that once you're out of school, particularly as an undergraduate, but maybe graduate school, most of lifelong learning is learning more about you and how you impact others. And that's why I see leadership as so critically important. You're looking at how I intended to impact others, and did I maximize that? And do I wake up every morning and saying, this is going to be the best day of my life, and I'm going to make a difference today. And that's what I'm really about in teaching this course. So thanks for enrolling, and I look forward to meeting each of you online.